Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Vimo Live. This is a live stream slash podcast that happens on YouTube from Monday to Friday at 9:30 p.m. Although that will change in the coming week, but we will talk about that. Uh, if you are here on the YouTube channel, you are at youtube.com/Vimo Live, and you are listening to this live and watching this live and chatting live in the live chat. If you are listening to this as audio at some point of time later, you're doing it on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Kana.com, Geo7, etc., or some other audio platform of your choice. It's a free world. You're free to listen to podcasts on any app you want. But if you are listening to the audio version, please share the episode with an acquaintance or friend or relative of yours who you think might also enjoy this podcast. We usually talk about India, Indian culture, religion, atheism also comes up a lot. But primarily, it's a place to talk about today, what happened today in our country, or what is happening these days in our country. We call it a contemporary culture discourse because plenty of people are obsessed with ancient culture and not enough are worrying about the culture that we are going to leave behind to future generations. So that is kind of sort of what we talk about here. Uh, Before I proceed, I would again remind everyone that this is the last week of this podcast as a daily show. From next week onwards, the show episodes will only be live on Wednesdays and Saturdays. In my In my last episode, I talked about why this has become necessary because I'm experiencing a bit of a burnout. Doing a live show every single day for 1 hour is not easy. And I am increasingly under more work pressures, and therefore, this is becoming unsustainable. But I will, like I used to before, do this show on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. as before. Not as before. Previously, it used to happen at 10 p.m. Now it will happen at 9:30 p.m. on Wednesdays and Saturdays. But this entire week we are going to go live every day. Next week onwards, Wednesdays and Saturdays when the live show will happen. The second piece of information is that I had announced the launch of a writing related channel, a channel where I will talk about writing because I'm a writer, mostly writing fantasy, world building, that sort of thing. That channel has launched. If any of you wish to subscribe to it, you can do so by visiting the main page of this channel and finding in the channel list there is a channel called Vimo is Writing. Click on it and go subscribe. There are already 3 videos there, and new videos will be infrequent, maybe once a week, maybe more than that. I'm not treating that channel as a place where where I'm very consistent. I will make nice informative videos and put them up whenever something comes to me, but that channel is largely going to be infrequently updated. So if you are into that sort of thing and if you think information about writing is something you'll enjoy, please feel free to go and subscribe. There are already around 50 subscribers. I announced it on the community tab this morning and on Facebook this morning and on Instagram this afternoon. There are about 50 subscribers. Let's see if we can cross 100 sometime by tomorrow. Having said all of that, let me get to the people who are here. I have made them wait long enough. Hello, people. Wish, Peaceful Nook, Yashwant Chaudhary, Rhythm, Nazu is here. Baka 69 is here. मूड क्या है says हेलो वेमो भारत जोड़ो यात्रा फॉलो कर रहे हो आप ब्रह्मास्त्र देखे क्या ब्रह्मास्त्र नहीं देखा और भारत जोड़ो यात्रा को फॉलो कर रहा हूँ एज फार एज पॉसिबल मतलब बीच बीच में कांग्रेस के चैनल पे जाकर लाइव देख लेता हूँ आई सपोज देर जस्ट वॉकिंग देर इज नॉट मच टू टॉक अबाउट I was surprised to see that Aaj Tak was giving it a decent amount of coverage, at least on their YouTube channel. So maybe the tides of media attention are turning. Maybe people are getting second thoughts about whether or not they can fully rely on the BJP to come back to power in 2024, and they don't want to make the Congress angry in case the Congress or some other Congress supported party wins. Sumit says hi. Samriddhi says hi. Battler says hi. Battler says, please get rest. I wondered why you were trying so hard. I was trying so hard because that is my nature. Like I have a serious personality issue, and that is that if I'm doing something and it's not working, instead of backing off, I double down, which is unhealthy, and it is something you can get away with in your 20s and 30s. But I'm about to turn 40, and this is not healthy. So मेरे साथ ये होता है कि अगर मैं लाइव कर रहा हूँ हर रोज एंड अगर मैं लाइव कर रहा हूँ हफ्ते में 2 दिन एंड इट फील्स लाइक अरे यार 2 दिन बहुत ज़्यादा होता है। अ वॉइस इनसाइड मी सेज क्या 2 दिन नहीं कर पा रहा? तो 5 दिन कर एंड आई स्टार्ट डूइंग इट 5 डेज़। इसका एक अपसाइड है। द अपसाइड इज़ दैट यू डोंट ईज़िली गिव अप ऑन थिंग्स एंड you put more than the effort that is required. But the downside is that if that becomes your guiding principle in life, then you're going to mess yourself up beyond repair. And I am no longer someone who wants to do that. So I'm going to take a couple of steps back. I'm still going to do live streams 2 days a week, which is more than most people do. It's going to be Wednesdays and Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. But every day is becoming a bit difficult. I've tried this multiple times, by the way. It's not sustainable. Battler says Rahul Gandhi really messed up by visiting George Panyaj. Why does that Mac constantly self-sabotage? People like George are a shame to both Catholics and liability to secularists. This is the double-edged sword that religion is, right? I think I heard Yogendra Yadav say something about religion can have bad impact and good impact. We have to embrace what is good. But no matter what place you go to, no matter how seemingly clean a religious person you choose to associate with, there is always going to be problematic things there. And I think that, the Congress is in a place where they're kind of advocating religious equality, Bharat Jodo, and all that. Then, you know, they're kind of going to have to deal with a lot of unsavory characters. This one turned out to be Christian, and therefore the BJP is beating his chest like a gorilla, not at all paying attention to all the suspect. They have literally put Sadhvi Pragya in the parliament. They should be last people to talk about another political party associating with a questionable character from another religion. Although I agree, associating with questionable characters, no matter how religious they are, no matter what religion they are from, is something I would not advocate. But still, let's see. Hmm. मूड क्या है सर? पहले मेरा व्यू था कि बीजेपी और इस सिस्टम से डिफेंसिव होकर डील करना चाहिए, बट अभी भारत जोड़ो यात्रा देखकर लगता है अटैक करना चाहिए। बॉयकॉट गैंग इसीलिए फेल हुआ ब्रह्मास्त्र में। या आई थिंक it is what, like, a couple of days ago, Nitish Kumar went to Delhi, met Sitaram Yechuri, Rahul Gandhi, and Arvind Kejriwal. And apparently, when Sonia Gandhi is coming back, a lot of people are waiting to meet her. I don't know what is cooking. But Nitish Kumar is reported to have told those people that तुम लोग अपना politics करो and don't let your actions be guided by the BJP. Which means that what the BJP does is that it will create an issue, and everyone gets busy reacting to it. They create an issue to divert attention from whatever wrong they are doing. So people don't talk about the things that they are doing wrong, and people get busy attacking them over the thing that they have introduced into the discourse. So yeah, if the Congress is right now becoming a little more aggressive as far as its counter propaganda is concerned, that's a great thing. This is what the Congress should have done a long time ago. I hope the Bharat Jodo Yatra. I Don't get me wrong. I think the Bharat Jodo Yatra is a great thing. It's a good thing. It should happen. Should have happened before. In fact, the Bharat Jodo Yatra should have happened when the anti-CAA protests were happening. That is my honest view. It has taken too long. I think what has happened is that political parties आराम से मजे से बैठी हुई थी opposition parties क्योंकि उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा था अटैक हो रहा था स्कॉलर्स पे स्टूडेंट्स पे पर नाउ दैट द बीजेपी हैज बिकम दिस behemoth which is saying कि ऑपोजिशन पार्टीज ही नहीं रहेंगी और आप बीजेपी को छोड़ के कुछ बीजेपी को छोड़ के कोई पार्टी ही नहीं रहेगी किसी स्टेट में इनको उनके सर्वाइवल पे आ गया so they're kind of making some efforts which is a good thing but I think they should have happened earlier. मूड क्या है सेज मेरा एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है बट 1 आवर का पॉडकास्ट इतना बड़ा इशू होता है क्या? डेली करोगे तो होता है, प्लस टॉपिक्स पे डिपेंड करता है, प्लस प्रिपरेशन पे डिपेंड करता है, प्लस इस बात पे डिपेंड करता है कि आप कितने कंफर्टेबल हो। अगर आप इंट्रोवर्ट हो तो आपको ज़्यादा एफर्ट लगता है, मेरी तरह। अगर आप एक्सट्रोवर्ट हो तो शायद नहीं लगता है, बट अगेन दैट्स अ डिफरेंट टॉपिक। Sumit says, even if Congress comes to power, that would be a coalition government. Yeah, and I think a coalition government is a great idea. It is better than a single party having all the power because that gives birth to arrogance. And we have seen the results of that arrogance over the last few years. Eman says, why won't you use the link sticker? प्राइमरीली बिकॉज़ मैं वो जो इंस्टाग्राम पे पोस्ट करता हूँ, वो आखिरी 5 मिनट में करता हूँ और तब मेरे पास टाइम नहीं होता जाके लिंक पिकअप करो, यहाँ पे डालो। So I always want to, but I forget. Piyush says, "Do you think Kejriwal is the biggest contender for 2024 PM election after Modi?" No, I do not think so. I think that the shape that the opposition takes in the coming few years, coming ये क्या है 2022 है, 2023 में opposition जो shape लेगी, वो शेप 2024 में कंटेस्ट करेगा इलेक्शन बीजेपी के खिलाफ। और वो शेप क्या होने वाला है उसके ऊपर ओपिनियन देने का ना मेरे पास अथॉरिटी है, ना ही किसी और के पास है। तुम मीडिया में बहुत से लोगों का ओपिनियन सुनोगे, नीतीश कुमार विल बी द फेस ऑफ द पीएम, मे बी केजरीवाल विल जॉइन द opposition coalition. Honest truth is nobody knows. So we'll find out when we find out. Mood क्या है? So what? Coalition government is far better. Yeah, exactly. Coalition government is in fact a better idea because हर किसी के पास कुछ ना कुछ lose करने को होता है. There is accountability, there is fear, there is the risk that you will lose power, and therefore you are answerable to the people who have voted you to power. Not like these guys, which is like हम तो नवाब लोग हैं. हमारा जो मन में आएगा करेंगे, रंग-बिरंगे कपड़े पहन के कैमरे के सामने ठुमके लगाएँगे. ऐसे कानून बनाएँगे जो कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के खिलाफ हैं. पर तुम हमसे सवाल पूछोगे तो हम तुमको जेल में डाल देंगे। ये थोड़ा ये दिस इज़ नॉट हेल्दी। A strong government of this variety is not a healthy government. It's not good for the people or the nation. Nazu says, take all the breaks you need. Don't forget, Enthu cutlets get fried. Get fried. Eman says, Rahul Baba doing Bharat Jodo Yatra as an 8-year-old is in prison in Bihar. 8-year-old. वो 8-year-old घर जा चुका है रे. I think the news came out last evening, but he has gone home. It should not have happened, but he went home sometime last night. But he was very scared apparently, obviously. Shubham says, with 2199, what happened, man? Why you wrote my name? August said, wait, what? Which 8-year-old is in prison? Apparently there were a few arrests in Bihar, and they had arrested a few Muslim men, including one 8-year-old child. Mood kya hai? So this person, Sham Meera Singh, why is he attacking Aam Aadmi Party? Miss Medusa also commented on this tweet. Let's fight BJP first. I have not seen the tweet. I have not seen Miss Medusa's comment on his tweet, so I cannot comment on that. Rajendran says divisive politics itself is deprecable, whether divisive by religious oriented or ideology oriented. I think we have to establish our polity and government without any polarized thinking in an absolute way. So that sentence, without polarized thinking in an absolute way, is an kind of an oxymoron because polarized thinking is kind of absolute. Nazu says, I wish they could pick up trash on the yatra and plant tree saplings wherever they stop. Okay. They have a website. Maybe you can leave feedback there. Sumit says, yeah, power resting in just one or two hands will lead to a ruler progeny system. लोगों को समझना चाहिए कि वो देश की जनता है, किसी राजा की प्रजा नहीं। या हमारे यहाँ तो सिटीजनशिप का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है उसी को सबड्यू किया जा रहा है। लोगों को ये कन्विंस करने की कोशिश की जा रही है कि वो सब्जेक्ट्स हैं महाराजा के, नवाब जी के, और सिटीजन नहीं है जिनका की स्टेक है इस सरकार में, इस गवर्नमेंट में, इस देश में। Zia says, "Hey Vimo, I've seen people associate being an introvert with being shy, reserved. What exactly would you say constitutes an introverted personality?" Uh, Hold on. Ayman says, even if he went home, this is an issue that Rahul and Tejasvi Yadav should have spoken up about. What is the point? Well, it has only been one day, and I think that the reason he went home was probably Tejasvi Yadav. I don't remember exactly, but I think there are news reports about this, and you should read them. Zia says, I've seen people associate being an introvert with being shy or reserved. What exactly would you say constitutes an introverted personality? Introverts or extroverts, the biggest difference is that introverts get their energy from within them and extroverts get their energy from outside them. So, an introvert, in order to recharge, needs to be alone. An extrovert, in order to recharge, needs to be among people and talk and interact. That is the main difference. It's possible for extroverts to be shy. It is possible for introverts to be very confident. This shy being associated with introversion is a faulty way of thinking that has unfortunately gone on for quite some time, and there is very little one can do to get it out of the पॉपुलर कॉन्शियसनेस बट इंट्रोवर्जन का कॉन्फिडेंस के अभाव के साथ कोई संपर्क नहीं है इंट्रोवर्ट जस्ट टॉक लेस बिकॉज दे डोंट फील द नीड टू टॉक ऑल द टाइम दैट इज ऑल Piyush says, do you think that the current level of divisiveness in Indian political discourse and society will ever retreat? If so, how many years will it take? Piyush, honestly, I don't know how many years it will take. It's hard to say how many years something is going to take when the first thing I think we should understand is that the current level of divisiveness is not a result of current times. This divisiveness has always existed. It has been deepened and brazenly encouraged in the last few years, but it has always been there. In fact, if anything, I had written something about our constitution a couple of years ago during Independence Day, and that was that the Constitution of India is not a realistic description of India. It is a dream about what India can be one day. So when we look at India, we find it feudal, we find it backward, we find it superstitious, we find it all manner of, all manner of problematic. But the Constitution of India presents to us a vision of India towards which we can all aspire. Because if we get there, if we get to the place where all people are equal, if we get to the place where nobody is discriminated against on the basis of religion, caste, gender, etc., then that will be a good thing. So to think that the fight against this divisiveness is a fight against prevailing conditions, the prevailing party, the prevailing ruling dispensation, it's a fault. I don't think 2024 में सरकार बदल भी जाएगी. अगर even if the BJP is completely नेस्तनाबूदed by the voters of India, I don't think this is going away anytime soon. I think this is going to remain. I think this is going to be a fight that we are all going to have to fight for the rest of our lives. And even then, it may not be completely won. So बेल्ट को टाइट करो और लंबे 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 रेस के लिए तैयार हो जाओ. Vikas says, why doesn't any scientist join politics? And if any scientist becomes CM or PM, then can that country become the best? No, I don't think it is that simple. You already know about so many well educated people who are extremely bigoted. You already know about so many scientists, engineers, and doctors who are bhakts of Baba Log. Baba Log, as in Sadhu Baba Log. So, scientist hona by itself is not going to make someone choose progressive politics. I think if you want a certain category or profession to become more active in politics, it should be social workers. Sumit says even the Ankita Singh murder case have been given a communal facade, while new discoveries pointing out on honor killing with compelling evidence to prove this theory. Yes, we have actually spoken about this a couple of days ago. मूड क्या है सर गलत मत समझना बट ये ज्ञानवापी रूलिंग आया उसके बाद आरफा मैम ट्वीट करती हैं एक और जख्म इतना नाटकीय रूपांतरण करने का क्या ज़रूरत है क्योंकि जख्म होते हैं यार यू डोंट थिंक इट्स अ सीरियस मैटर यू डोंट थिंक इट्स एन अटेम्प्ट टू डिवाइड द कंट्री ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ रिलीजन ऑफ कोर्स इट्स अ जख्म इसमें मतलब you and I, as Hindus, are hardly in a position to decide what they feel when they see yet another thing like this happen. Like a few months ago, I think, when the Ayodhya thing was in the news, unfortunately, there were people who were laughing at the kind of reactions that Muslims were posting on social media. They and these people who were laughing had no idea what the Muslims had gone through when the Ayodhya stuff happened. No matter where the yatra went, there were riots. People have died because of the Ayodhya movement. So your memories, my memories about the temple being built or the masjid being demolished might range from ये हम हिंदू हैं हम बहुत प्राउड हैं कि ये हुआ to मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ता. But they have had uniformly tragic experiences because of this. So when they see yet another temple masjid controversy being birthed, artificially created, in fact, in my opinion, of course it's going to be very tragic for them. इसको नाटकीय बोलना इनसेंसिटिविटी की हद है यार. ऐसे मत करो. Zia says, makes sense, Vimo, especially the part about needing to be alone to recharge. There have been many times where I made excuses to avoid going out with friends, family, because I wanted to just be by myself. Zia, इसके बारे में book है actually. There is a book called Quiet, Quiet, by Susan something. Hold on. Mm, yeah, Quiet by Susan Cain, Cain. And there's another book by I don't remember their name, but the book is called The Introvert Advantage. You should read these books. They give a lot of like closure, I suppose, is the word that I would go with. These books are about being an introvert and how a lot of popular culture kind of puts the onus of interacting with people on introverts and does not pay attention to the fact that people who don't talk, people who spend a lot of time inside their head, people who are not essentially team players, are they have advantages that other people don't. And recent years, research has actually thrown quite a lot of light on this. So two books, Quiet by Susan Cain, and the other book whose author I'm not remembering is called The Introvert Advantage. Hmm. Augusta says, yeah, the solution people seem to think and prescribed in constitution about communal and caste-based discrimination is that I hereby declare it unconstitutional, but it's not enough. Hmm. Battler says, I want your opinion on love jihad conspiracy. Apparently, it seems that bribes are given according to caste difference, like Brahmins and Jains get some more money and lower caste getting less. Again, this is complete, in my opinion, complete bullshit. Love jihad करके कुछ होता नहीं है. Love jihad is a product of two severely insecurity based reactions. One is Islamophobia, the other is misogyny. लव जिहाद इज़ बेसिकली हिंदू बॉयज़ सेइंग कि हमसे कोई शादी नहीं कर रहा, लड़कियाँ मुसलमान लड़कों को चूज़ कर रही हैं। मम्मी कुछ करो प्लीज़, उस लड़की के लेके शा उस लड़की की उस मुसलमान लड़के से शादी तुड़वा के मुझसे शादी करवाओ। बाकी सब बकवास है। आई डोंट थिंक देयर इज़ एनीथिंग कॉल्ड लव जिहाद। इट्स मैन्युफैक्चर्ड कॉन्स्पिरेसी एंड the sooner we stop talking about this nonsense, the better. Arun says, my question to Vikas, why do you think the skill set of a scientist would translate to having the mind of politics and policy making? दैट इज़ अ गुड क्वेश्चन। आई थिंक हम लोग साइंटिस्ट के सामने बहुत अगरबत्ती जलाते हैं। मूड क्या है सेज़ मुस्लिम के साथ हैं हम उनके राइट्स के लिए बट इस्लाम खत्म हो जाए यही अच्छा होगा दुनिया के लिए। मूड क्या है? यू शुड प्रोबेबली थिंक ट्वाइस बिफोर यू पोस्ट सेंटिमेंट्स लाइक दिस बिकॉज़ देयर इज़ a way to oppose Islam, there is a way to oppose any religion, but when you say things like this, you are actually making matters worse, and I have talked about this in the past, with you present in fact. So don't do this. Nadir says we should go 35,000 years back where there were no elaborate places of worship. Shall we? No. Okay. Eman says Owaisi also mentioned how his father cried talking about Babri and how he does not want to witness another Babri. The sentiment is very, very common to the community. Yeah, exactly. So for a Hindu to say, मुझे नहीं पता इतना नाटकीय रूप से क्यों बात करते हैं, is very insensitive. People have died because of this nonsense. People have lost families, homes, been forced to run away from their ancestral places because of this nonsense. Natakiya hona is not the right way to describe this. Survey says in current state of our country, a coalition government will likely be more representative of the population than a single party. Exactly. Always is, in fact. Always is. Battler, like even sorry, I'll just come back to you, Battler. I used to be the person who says who thought कि ये मतलब democracy is a slow system. Things take a lot of time to be done. We need a strong, decisive government to make decisions. And this was when I was a Sanghi. But I have come to realize that a coalition government is not only like a coalition government is not a consolation prize. It is what we should aspire to. We should aspire to having a coalition of parties which are united by their concern for actual issues, and they all should be afraid of us while they are in party while they are in power. The moment you put a party in power and remove all fear from them, you are essentially signing your death warrant. I wonder if people have to sign their own death warrants, do they? Battler says, isn't this a dead giveaway that this is a conspiracy made by casteist Indians? Also, why would someone choose India of all places to do such convoluted takeover? Wait, what are you talking about? Oh, love jihad. Hmm. Yeah, it is. Love jihad is it's a fake thing made up by casteist Indians. caste as Hindus, in fact. Piyush says, I have noticed that the current government always emphasizes more on citizens' duties rather than talking about their rights. What do you think is the reason? Because they don't want to be held accountable. The citizenship of this country is being reprogrammed to think that its job is to join hands and say, Malik, Malik, bataiye hum kya kare. And this is in the interest of the people who want to be the Maliks. मूड क्या है says, कोई एब्सोल्यूट इंट्रोवर्ट नहीं होता, टॉपिक और ग्रुप पे डिपेंड करता है. Nahin, absolute again, you're misunderstanding the meaning of the word introvert. An introvert is always someone who recharges through silence and being alone. What you are meaning by introvert is someone who remains silent on certain topics. Even if you allow an introvert to talk about a topic that they are really excited about, it will not change their fundamental nature, which is that they will still need to recharge by themselves. Vikram says the documentary Ram Ke Naam is even more important today than when it was released. Everyone should watch this documentary. It is the most relevant documentary for the current times, in my opinion. I do not disagree. Eman says we still share stories about how many people we lost during the curfew, post riots. My family members were taking people to the hospital during the curfew. My elder brother was born in January 93. Yeah, these are family histories that Hindus could possibly listen to and understand and relate with, but they will not even expose themselves to these stories. And therefore, things will appear natakiya to them. Vikas says lots of people say that before 1857, the problem of communalism did not exist in India like Hindu Muslim, but it only started by the Britishers' divide and rule. How much do you agree? I actually agree to a certain extent, but Hindu and Muslim divisions did exist, but probably they were not as like. So, what is the difference between today's India and the India of probably before 1857? It's social mobility, the ability of an Indian to go to any other part of India, live anywhere, work anywhere, and get treated equally. Before 1857, probably we had kingdoms and regions and territories that were either that had different sets of laws. There were kingdoms and stuff. So the Hindus could afford to live among them, among each other, surrounded by Hindus. Muslims could afford to live among Muslims, surrounded by Muslims. So this did not appear to be much of a problem. Now we are one political unit, one cultural amalgam, and therefore we have to interact with each other more. 1857 से पहले का भारत जो आदमी चाहता है ना, वो बेसिकली भारत को तोड़ना चाहता है, क्योंकि तब भारत टूटा हुआ था बहुत सारे छोटे-छोटे रीजन्स में। मूड क्या है सर? हिंदुइज़्म भी, क्रिश्चियनिटी भी, व्हाट? मूड क्या है? साउंड्स लाइक अ हिंदू एथिस्ट इन Lamo. Yeah, he does actually. Mood क्या है? Are you a Hindu atheist? Nadir says a lot of scientists aren't actually scientists, but merely holding a post of a scientist. I have enough examples. We all do. Hmm. Nadir says enough of a strong leader. We need a weak leader and a coalition government. Yeah, we need a leader who understands that his or her power is not absolute and works in accordance with the wishes of both the people of India and or her coalition partners. Munmun says, bro, have you seen Pranav's Hanuman Chalisa video? Yeah, dekha na. In fact, Pranav and I are doing a coalition bolne wala tha main. Pranav and I are doing a collab and the video will be available sometime next week. Eman says, I love Nadir Lamao. Lamao ki kya baat hai? You realize Lamau is laughing my ass off, right? I love Nadir. Ah, ha, 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 ha. And then you, what is that sentence? Why are you laughing? Vikas says, due to marriage in some caste, do you think that Indians should be extinct? Indians could be extinct. What? Marriage in same caste, Indian extinct? I don't know if that is even possible. Nadir says, Meghnad also said once, we need all country level decisions to happen very slowly and with a lot of deliberation for the day to day functioning. Anyway, administration is decentralized. Yeah. When you take quick decisions, you end up with stupid fucking decisions like demonetization or the farm laws. Extremely ill thought out crap decisions made by someone who was thinking out of his ass. Peaceful Nuke says, even if a centrist alliance wins, is there any way the right wingers can stop being such fascists? No. Like, can every person who has spent their entire young years behind being entrenched in communalism be helped? Some can, some can't. But the efforts have to remain on. We can't say log nahi badlenge. Like, one of the most annoying things I come across on social media is liberals who are doing the work of the right wingers. You post something, you say okay, this is a good thing, and they're like kuch nahi ho sakta. You post something which is hopeful, and they're like kuch nahi ho sakta. You post something which might have good repercussions for the opposition, which is a good movement that challenges the uh, uh, you know sarkari agenda, and they're like kuch nahi ho sakta. It's like they have fallen in love with kuch nahi ho sakta. And some people have justifications for this, by the way. People who are oppressed, people who have been victims for a long time, their despair is justified and understandable. I don't get it at all when urban Hindu upper caste Indians sitting in their fine homes or offices are like, कुछ नहीं हो सकता. Congratulations, तुम आरएसएस के मेंबर हो. तुम्हें पता नहीं है, पर तुम आरएसएस जॉइन कर चुके हो. क्योंकि वो लोग यही चाहते हैं तुमसे. कुछ नहीं हो सकता. चिपके रहो. यही तोते की तरह इसी बात को रटते रहो. जिनको कुछ करना है उनको करने दो. अगर कुछ नहीं हो सकता के अलावा और कुछ नहीं बोल सकते, तो चुपचाप बैठो घर पे. Nadir says, and I love Taylor Swift, man, and I have been known to lie, but jokes apart, love you too. Sumit says, actually, the problematic thing is people are never being exposed to the ugly side of communal disharmony. We cannot let communal difference to become a precursor to power dynamics in the country. Zia says, hey Vimo, I have seen a huge toxic community of ultra-nationalist religious Indians who display photos of Indian flag or some Hindu deity on Twitter. They always seem to be spewing hate against anyone criticizing anything Indian or Hindu. Do you feel that people are legitimately becoming more toxic, or this is the work of the infamous IT cell that we keep hearing about? Uh, at least 50 to 60% of it is the IT cell. Some of it is unpaid teenagers who are happy to belong to a community which is so in tune with what their hormones are telling them right now. I think teenage boys are the most hormonal creatures on the planet. Like, we keep hearing this, right? Women are very emotional. You will never meet something more emotional than a teenage boy. बात बात पे रोना धोना, बात बात पे चिल्लाना, रोना बिलखना, अरे ले गए हमारा कल्चर, ले गए, ये हो गया वो हो गया, या तो अरे फेमिनिस्ट हमें खा गई, या तो अरे अरे विदेशी वेस्टर्नाइजेशन, जबकि वो खुद एक मतलब बर्बरी नहीं तो कुछ और बेरी का टी शर्ट पहन के घर पे अमेजोन पे चीजें ऑर्डर कर रहा होता है. Teenage boys are often happy to be volunteers for this IT cell propaganda. So that is what you're saying. Mostly IT cell paid employees, but a lot of them are not paid also. Aditya says Modi talks about duties because he sees himself as the big brother, not the 1984 one, but the big boss one. फोकट का task देता रहता है. Nadir says, I'm more of a sideward. I get my energy being on the side of a conversation and interaction, and at times throwing gaslight on this side or the other. Arun says, people of the right wing say facts don't care about your feelings when LGBT issues come up. What stops it from saying the same thing when it comes to religious? Exactly. This is a common criticism of their position, actually. It has been brought up by many American commentators also, some live streamers, etc. मूड क्या है सर? अभी कुछ काम है, जाना पड़ेगा, लेकिन इसका जवाब हम कल देंगे, नाटकीय कौन है? और एथिज़्म पे और एंटी बीजेपी होने का सर्टिफ़िकेट नहीं चाहिए। मूड क्या है? इस अप्रोच के साथ तो खैर तुम्हारा कमेंट ही नहीं पढ़ा जाएगा। बी नाइस, बी पोलाइट एंड डू नॉट ट्राई टू aggravate people because you don't understand their problems. You are welcome to come here, but this community has rules, and if you show attitude, you will not be welcomed back. Battler says, how do we even get people to listen to other people's sides? Look at the way Gujarat riots are dismissed. If KP Exodus is not brought up, somehow Muslims brought it upon them. Yeah, that is so. In a recent episode of Orville, we saw There was a flashback to the earlier times when the kalons were artificial constructs, and someone pointed out that a common feature of oppressor-oppressed dynamic is that the oppressor turns the oppressed into helpless creatures, and then the oppressor's anger against the oppressed increases because the oppressed is helpless. So that is what happens. You will find a society where the majoritarian community is oppressing the minority community. The minority community is helpless, and that helplessness begins to disgust the oppressor even more. So that is what we are looking at. They will they will say that ये जो minority के लोग हैं ये लोग बहुत बदमाश हैं. And when the minority people are oppressed, they cry out. They will point at their crying and say that ये लोग drama कर रहे हैं. Sai Deepak says, "Hey Vimo, is it just me or do you feel that the Ministry of External Affairs is doing more whataboutery in recent days? When asked about human rights violation and communal violence, I haven't really looked at any of the press conferences, man. So I can't comment. I don't know what they have said." Okay. Aditya says, MEA under Jayashankar has deteriorated. Right-wing YouTube comment section has become EAM. EAM क्या होता है? Aditya says, गाली तो सब दे सकते हैं. EAM should be about diplomacy. What is EAM? External Affairs Minister. Acha, okay. Dragon says, had some people argue that with countries like China is the reason why India cannot afford a weak leader that Nadir Kazi defined. We see, again, do you think a weak leader is someone who pays attention to what the country wants? Or do you think a weak leader is someone who uh, is so afraid of feedback that he doesn't even ask people questions about whether or not a decision should be taken? Think about it. हम लोग को वीक और स्ट्रॉन्ग के बारे में बात करना ज़रूरी है और वीक और स्ट्रॉन्ग के डेफिनेशंस को भी डिस्कस करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. It says, guys, please like the stream. 45 people live, but less than 20 like. Yes, please like the stream, guys. यूट्यूब को यूट्यूब को पता चला कि तुम लोग यहाँ पे हो. विकास says, वेमो भैया सेम कास्ट में शादी करने से इनडायरेक्टली ये इंसेस्ट नहीं हुआ क्या? क्योंकि मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल आर फ्रॉम द सेम फैमिली मेंबर्स, फ्यू जनरेशंस gap marriage each other. I think there is some Gotra logic going on there which prevents it from being incest. So I don't know if that is correct. Nadir says कुछ नहीं हो सकता. When a curry gets too spicy, we add potato or tomato to dilute the spiciness. The chili is still there, but it is not subdued. Everyone has biases. True. Nadir says point is to help people not pander to their worst biases. Arun says reading Sons of Darkness by Gaurav Mahanti portrays Pandavas with flaws and Duryodhan with redeeming qualities. Krishna is portrayed as a bit of a playboy. That's the Mahabharata, isn't it? Even the actual Mahabharata does this. The Pandavas are portrayed with flaws. One says, did Flying Beast file libel defamation on Pranav? No, he did not. He had filed a libel against a newspaper because of a certain report that came out in that newspaper about brands and using children in YouTube videos. Battler says, if online toxicity is driven by paid agents or teenage boys, what explains toxicity among Indian teenage girls? If online toxicity is paid agents or teenage boys, what explains toxicity among Indian teenage girls? Depends on what toxicity you're talking about. Like, are you defining feminism as toxicity, or are you defining toxicity of the patriarchal variety that some women also participate in? Peaceful Nook says, do you know about the Cuban democracy? People and worker collectives choose their representatives to the National Assembly, which in turn elect the leader, better than choosing the less worse party. Yeah, I've heard of this. Uh, Richard Wolff is a scholar whose work focuses on democracy in the workplace. And he says that a huge reason behind communism failing in Russia was that they could not employ workplace democracy. So the power structures remained, and that is what took it down. So he's saying this time, if communism comes back, it should definitely focus on democracy in the workplace. And by that, we mean that सरकारी सिस्टम में तुम्हारा जो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव है उसको तुम चूज करते हो, पर ऑफिस में तुम्हारे मैनेजर को तुम चूज नहीं करते. In fact, it's a very top-down dictatorship situation. Your manager is not answerable to you. You are answerable to your manager. Workplace democracy means that your manager will be answerable to you, and you will own stake in the company. And there is also a limit on how wide the wage gap is allowed to be. Under capitalism, the CEO of a company can make millions of times the amount of money the ground level worker makes, which is unacceptable. So they have a limit on how much more money a senior official can make. There are a lot of good ideas there. Before I proceed further, Milind Sonone, thank you for the 100 rupee super sticker. Hi Vimo, most of Jain community people right wing Hindutva party क्यों होते जा रहे हैं? I suppose because they associate with the Hindu identity. I don't know honestly what the reason behind this is, but yeah, I believe the Home Minister Amit Shah is Jain. So uh, because they are the moneyed class, they are a lot into business, and money goes a huge way in funding political parties or funding their agendas. I suppose that is one of the reasons. I honestly don't know how to answer this. Hmm. सुमित सर या लोग दूसरों के कपड़ों पर कमेंट करके मोरल पुलिसिंग करेंगे बट कंट्री के एक्चुअल प्रॉब्लम्स पर कुछ नहीं बोलेंगे एग्जैक्टली नादर says कर्तव्य पथ is to remind whom of their कर्तव्य people of course prime minister doesn't have any duties he can do whatever the duck he wants it is the people who must remember that it is their duty to obey him completely that is what that is a reminder of Sudipto says ask them to demand compensation अरे अनपेड लेबर क्यों करेंगे ये टीनेज बॉयज इंटर्नशिप पे लगाओ यार रोने वाला इंटर्नशिप Sumana says I had sort of a racist encounter yesterday. Oh, tell us about it, Sumana. Eman says एंटी बीजेपी का सर्टिफिकेट ब्रो एंटी बीजेपी का सर्टिफिकेट मिलता भी नहीं बेयर मिनिमम तुमको कितना बर्डन सम लगता है पासिंग मार्क्स लाते कहते हो मुझे स्टूडेंट ऑफ द ईयर ट्रॉफी नहीं चाहिए uh, Sharad says, do you think there is any fundamental difference between humans and sufficiently advanced robots whose behavior is indistinguishable from humans? I don't have a frame of reference for sufficiently advanced robots. All we have is ideas from science fiction, right? So unless I have a specimen of sufficiently advanced robots, I cannot possibly compare it to what the human situation is right now. I can write science fiction stories about robots. We have done that. We have science fiction androids who are very close to human, like Data from Star Trek, or any number of android life forms in science fiction novels. Uh, गले की बैंड बजी हुई है. Nadir says, please find and read Vivek Kaul's essay, Amitabh Kant, The Indian Middle Class, and Their Dream of a Benevolent Autocrat. Yeah. Battler says, Dragoots, China is not as strong as it looks. It has really messed up badly on its economy, demographics, foreign policy, and will be a paper tiger after 2025. Let's see. China is China has been around for quite some time, and every 5 to 10 years, somebody says that नहीं China का time गया अभी कुछ दिनों बाद खत्म हो जाएगा. और होता नहीं है. So I don't know. Sona says, Wish, blatantly right on your face. It has happened twice, but microaggressions happen oftentimes. Wish says Jains had become assimilated in Hinduism. Peaceful Nook says, Sharat, human behavior is not enough. It depends on if that behavior is generated by their intelligence or is just the code running in them to mimic a human, in my opinion. Hmm. How do we know that the behaviors we engage in are the result of something other than programming of the Android variety? Think about it. Battler says, I have seen Indian teenage girls literally laugh at toxic boys boast about how they trap Muslim girls and even support polygamy. Yeah. So there are oppressive systems like patriarchy and casteism, etc. And sometimes the people championing these belong to the oppressed category itself, because these systems work by creating roles. And sometimes the role that, like, imagine a corporation where in order to rise up, you have to do ass licking and, uh, you know, engage in abusive behavior. Now, a woman goes into it. It's a boys' club. She realizes that the amount of progress she can make inside this corporation is limited if she sticks to her actual nature, and therefore she has to start acting like the boys. So she acts like the boys and she rises up in the office. Then later on, another woman comes. What is the advice the first woman would give to the second woman? Would it be yourself? Or would it be you cannot progress until you act like a man? So, what we have is a patriarchal atmosphere into which a woman goes, and she has to acquire patriarchal qualities in order to rise up in the system. Patriarchy is not simple, some bad people oppressing some powerless people. It is also a system where power and the criteria under which power works are defined, and they are oppressive by nature. So even people who are victims of it have to correspond to it. That is why this happens. A lot of women you're talking about who are laughing at boys' toxic jokes are also victims of patriarchy, in that they're laughing at their own oppression. And because they don't have access to understandings of the variety that we discuss here regularly, it doesn't really go away. This is why talking to people about systems is more important than talking to people about individual political parties or individual politicians. That's important, but in the short term. In the long run, the problems are not going away unless we start talking systems. It is the systems which create all these things. And systems, the problems will go away when we replace poor systems with good systems. Sharad says, peaceful no, human intelligence is rooted in natural processes. What makes it fundamentally different from algorithm unless you invoke something special? Yeah, exactly. How do we know that the kind of intelligence we are talking about is any different from the kind of intelligence a super advanced Android might have? Battler says, Milan, BJP supports all the values Jains hold: unbridled capitalism, vegetarianism, uh, purity culture, and above all, Jains are upper castes. Hmm. Sona says, I was driving back home and some white old man honked. I had no idea why at first. Then he followed me till my house and honked two more times. When I pulled in, he showed his middle finger. Oh, okay. Did you take a picture of his? Did you like get his number plate or something? I hope. Like, I don't have a frame of reference to compare this to anything, obviously, but I hope it's not dangerous. Is what I'm saying. Manmohan says, did you watch House of the Dragon episode 4? Chacha Bhatiji incest going on. हाँ ये तो होना था. If you've read the books, you know that this is what was going to happen. Other things are also going to happen that I can't tell you about because I don't want to spoil the show for people who may not have read the books. But ये आ रहा था. Peaceful Nook says, Sharath, what I meant is that behavior thought out by the AI or is that just an accurate attempt to mimic human emotions? I think दूसरा conversation चल रहा है. Sumana says, no idea why. I did not block him or anything. It was just scary. This would seem to be some racist asshole who was trying to make his presence felt or even imply that he knows where you live or something. I think you should talk to people, whoever you can. Neighbors and the car number, share it if you can. And I don't know what else is available. Talk to people. Milan says on 4 September, Chileans voted to reject a proposed constitution for their nation that framed science as a tool for improving society. Even Richard Dawkins once said, and I don't like to quote Richard Dawkins, but Richard Dawkins said that I don't think Darwinism should be a foundation for how society works. Eman says China has focused entirely on advancement of tools of production, and that is capitalist. China is capitalist, just not as capitalist as America. Arun says most anti-feminist arguments, ironically, I hear from my female relatives. Yeah, again, victims of patriarchy. So basically, you've seen Django Unchained, right? And do you remember the character played by Samuel L. Jackson? That. So it says Chinese labor force is aging and the production cost is increasing as population percentage is declining. That is why Taiwan is now becoming a hotspot of large corporates and businesses. Hemant says Savarna women are the foot soldiers of Brahmanical patriarchy. Sometimes even Bahujan women could perpetuate Brahmin patriarchy because that would protect them from misogyny or casteism. Yeah, exactly what we are talking about. Vikram says only AI that I will trust is Jarvis. Uh, Zia says, Sumana, that sounds terrible. Sorry to hear that you're going through it. Samar says, and I am late again. I am missing live streams because of the time change. समर्थ आने वाले हफ्ते से लाइव स्ट्रीम्स वेडनेसडेज और सैटरडे को होने वाली है 9:30 बजे. The daily thing is becoming a bit too much, but you knew about it because I talked about it in the last episode. Maybe I should make a separate video and upload it to the channel. Sumit says snatching away all the money China, so China ने उन्हें ही हटा के पीरोग्राम बना लिया है. Okay. So when I says, I think women in general are not encouraged to think. I don't think many have realized that they're victims of patriarchy. It's really sad. Yeah. Sarvesh Patkar says, Sumna, really sorry to hear that. Racist white folks often feel threatened by immigrants. They have a white folks khatre mein hai narrative similar to how Hindus are being brainwashed in India. Yeah. In most countries, you will find that the majority community, cultural or religious or racial, will always engage in similar uh, kinds of behavior. Piyush says, do you feel that the core support of BJP is far more radical even for its leaders? The core support is us, man. It's us, our families. हमारे अंकल लोग जो कि कास्टिस्ट हैं, हमारे पेरेंट्स का जनरेशन जो कि इस्लामोफोबिक है, हमारे परिवार में ही भरे हुए हैं ये लोग. तो we should not imagine that the core voter of the BJP is somewhere out there plotting how to take over the world. It's our families. जो रात के 9 बजे डिनर खाते हुए अर्नब को देखते हैं और तालियाँ पीटते हैं, हम ही हैं उनका कोर वोटर. और अगर तुम्हें लगता है कि तुम्हारे परिवार में ये नहीं होना चाहिए, तो इसके खिलाफ आवाज़ उठाना तुम्हारा काम है. चैनल बदलना तुम्हारा काम है. लोगों को बताना कि ये बकवास है और मैं ये देखूँगा नहीं टीवी पे जब मैं खाना खा रहा हूँ. चैनल चेंज करो, ये तुम्हारा काम है. Which says, "Eman, I have changed myself, have become more religious, moderate, accepting faults with my religion." Okay. Eman says, "Good for you, Wish." I don't know if she meant that sarcastically. I'm just assuming the tone. Sharat says, peaceful note. In your question, there is the assumption that humans possess a self capable of independent thought, which robots don't. Vikram says, House of Dragon, episode 1 aptly captured the essence of the ideal woman in the world of a patriarchy, a breeding machine. Yeah. And it did not get better in episode 2 and 3 either. Sumana says, did not take down his number plate, but my security camera would have captured his car. Yeah. So share information with neighbors. Peaceful Nook says, Sharad, yeah, I see. Now to answer that, one must dive into the rabbit hole that is consciousness. Akash says, China is a communist state with controlled capitalism. Eman says, women are not encouraged to think. It's just benevolent sexism that helps abusive Savarna women escape accountability. Women perpetuating patriarchy know exactly what they are doing. They may know that they are perpetuating patriarchy, but they may think that it is a good thing. Not everyone who's perpetuating patriarchy thinks that patriarchy is a bad thing. You and I think that patriarchy is a bad thing. But if, like, there are people who think Islamophobia is a good thing. So the system itself may be understood, but people may have different views of what that system means. Sharad says, peaceful no kiya. Roger Penrose has some arguments that consciousness isn't computational. He hypothesizes that some quantum processes are at work in the brain. आकाश है 2020 में बोला था पेरेंट्स को हिंदू मुस्लिम डिबेट मत देखो थोड़ा कम हुआ है अब या गुड दिस इज हाउ वी विन दिस इफ इनफ पीपल स्टार्ट डूइंग दिस इन देयर होम्स ना वी विल विन दिस बट मुझे जो ये लगता है ना कि मैं इंस्टाग्राम पे कोई ट्वीट पोस्ट करूंगा विच विल बी क्रिटिकल ऑफ द पावर्स दैट बी एंड समवन सेज यू आर सो ब्रेव एंड आई लाइक इसके लिए ब्रेवरी नहीं लगती है। ब्रेवरी लगती है सड़क पे उतर के प्रोटेस्ट करने में और पुलिस के डंडे खाने में, जो मैं नहीं कर रहा, बहुत से लोग कर रहे हैं। इफ यू आर अफ्रेड ऑफ रेजिंग योर वॉइस इवन विदिन योर ओन हाउस, देन यू आर नो यूज़फुल पार्ट ऑफ द फाइट। थोड़ा बहुत शोर मचा सकते हो, थोड़ा बहुत अपोज़ कर सकते हो, थोड़ा बहुत डिसरप्शन क्रिएट कर सकते हो अपने घर के बिगेटरी वाले नैरेटिव के अंदर। Eman says, yeah, so they're not encouraged to think. They're thinking all right. They just don't think there's any, yeah. They just don't think there's anything wrong with patriarchy. Maybe another way of looking at that sentiment, Eman, could be that they're not encouraged to, even the ones among them who have problems with patriarchy are not allowed to pursue that line of thought through peer pressure. कोडरामा says बुक शेल्फ टूर व्हेन? पता नहीं यार, करूँगा बीच में। एक तो कॉमिक्स वाला एपिसोड करना था, वही अभी तक नहीं कर पाया। Battler says, any thoughts on how to understand the argument that patriarchy is a natural state of society? One guy I argued with said the above in context of my linking rape to patriarchy. No, it's not. Mostly, you will find a lot of people when they try to defend something bad that even they think is bad, they just say it's evolution, it's nature, it can't be changed. Of course, it can be. We have changed so many things about our society. If it was just nature, we would not have gotten rid of diseases. Diseases are natural, but we got rid of them. We made ourselves medicines that help us fight those and fight, treat, and cure diseases. Just because A, it is not natural, but B, even if it were natural, shrugging your shoulders and say, it's just natural, is not a solution to anything. And B, if by nature this person appears to be a fan of Jordan Peterson, who of the lobster metaphor fame, they should know that humans have a lot of genetic material shared with bonobos, and bonobos are matriarchal. There's a species of there is a species of ape called the Japanese macaque. Look it up. Don't read anything else. Even just a Wikipedia page will help you. Look at how their societies are constructed. Look at how much patriarchy plays a role in their social well-being. Patriarchy is not a natural thing. It is an artificial construct created by men to oppress women and have all the fun. जब लड़के पेट्रियार्की को सपोर्ट करते हैं, उसका एक ही कारण होता है, बिकॉज़ व्हेन दे इमेजिन अ वर्ल्ड विदाउट पेट्रियार्की, उन्हें लगता है, अरे मेरे तो सारे मज़े ही खत्म हो जाएँगे। सो दे सीक, जैसे रिलिजियस लोगों का है ना कि लाइफ़ का एक पॉइंट आया व्हेन दे कुड नॉट साइंटिफिकली जस्टिफाई देयर रिलिजियस बिलीफ्स। So they started saying, it's natural or scientific. They started seeking justification. So this argument is that only. He's trying to justify it, but there is no foundation for it. Samira says, I'm late. I keep forgetting it is at 9:30. Samira, it's okay. अगले हफ्ते से you'll not be late on Mondays and Tuesdays because live stream will again, I'll just remind everyone, अगले हफ्ते से live stream Wednesdays और Saturday को होगी. इस पूरे हफ्ते होगी Friday तक. बट अगले हफ्ते से लाइव स्ट्रीम सिर्फ वेडनेसडे और सैटरडे को होगी बिकॉज़ आई एम कटिंग डाउन ऑन द नंबर ऑफ hours I'm putting into live streaming because it's kind of messing up my schedule. Um, Historian says, do you think Islamophobia is a whole India problem or it's based in North India only? I don't honestly have a great handle on how things are happening in the South, but I think it's pan India. Eman says, Kodrama, bro, you missed it. Already ho chuka tour. No, Eman, he's talking about another one which I had promised some time ago, which was just about comics. So I'm going to do it sometime, but I just haven't gotten around to doing it. Hmm. Eman says, मेरा दूसरा comment नहीं पढ़ा तूने. I commented three things. हैं? हाँ, पढ़ा, सारा पढ़ा. Ashwini says, a few days ago, a group of people in a vehicle, most of them had saffron scarves around their necks, made rape threats. I was walking my dog. I have been traveling with the video turned on my phone. I'm so sorry this happened to you, Ashwini. I hope the next time, I hope this doesn't happen. But if it does, I hope uh, you capture it on video and are able to report it. Samar says, so if we are going to have live streams only 2 days a week, then can we hope for gaming live streams at Wemo Place? समर तो वो तो अब बिल्कुल भी होने का चांस नहीं है बिकॉज़ मैंने वो चैनल को थोड़ा-सा ये कर दिया है, डीएक्टिवेट कर दिया है। थोड़ा-सा डीएक्टिवेट क्या, पूरा डीएक्टिवेट कर दिया है। आई एम प्लेइंग गेम्स ओनली एज़ पार्ट ऑफ माय डेली रिचुअल्स, बट अलग से नहीं कर रहा हूँ बिकॉज़ अ लॉट ऑफ माय टाइम इज़ एक्चुअली गोइंग इंटो राइटिंग द नॉवल। तो हो सकता है मैं इसी चैनल पे कभी एक लाइव स्ट्रीम कर दूँ, लाइव स्ट्रीम के साथ-साथ या लाइव स्ट्रीम खत्म होने के बाद, बट उस चैनल को अभी डीएक्टिवेट कर दिया गया है। Eman says, link rape to patriarchy and then link patriarchy to capitalism. You're welcome. Rape, patriarchy, patriarchy. Oh, yeah. Hmm. Butler says, by the way, I was right in at least linking rape to patriarchal societal expectation. Eman already answered that. Um, Peaceful Note says, bro, why talk about monkeys? There have been some human tribes that have been matriarchal. Only talked about monkeys because he brought in nature. If I brought in one human tribe, he would have said, yeah, so that's an exception. But an entire species that is closely linked to human beings being matriarchal in nature throws a spanner into his argument that patriarchy is natural. That is why I brought it up. Peaceful says, if you are reducing the number of live streams per week, can you at least make them longer? Just a request. कर सकते हैं. I think it will start at 9:30 and ideally 10:30 तक होगा, but थोड़ा उससे ज़्यादा लंबा कर सकते हैं. Maybe just the Saturday one. Maybe. I don't know. Eman says patriarchy isn't natural. That could easily slip into biological determinism of men inherently being a certain way and women being designed the other way. Yeah. Oja says, hey Vimo, I remember you saying you don't like atheists who were famous writers, example Richard Dawkins anymore. What is the reason? The reason is that a lot of them have slipped into bigotry territory. Sam Harris has, Richard Dawkins has, Christopher Hitchens is no more, but one of my biggest problems with him is that he was a big supporter of the Iraq war. And even after the war failed to produce any weapons of mass destruction, he, he refused to say that it was the wrong decision till the day he died. So I think Christopher Hitchens is my favorite among them, but even he had big problems. Christopher Hitchens being my favorite in terms of the writing I'm talking. But Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins have gone down the drain a long time ago. हमारे इंडिया में सब कुछ बहुत लेट आता है ना, तो the awareness of their dickery has also not yet come very clearly. Yashwant says, have you seen that the new draft constitution of Chile has been rejected by its population? The draft is progressive, yet it has been rejected apparently due to huge misinformation. पता नहीं. Somebody did mention it earlier today, but I don't know the details. Samira says, oh, Saturday seems good. I'm usually free on that day. Will you take calls on those days as well? Yeah, I will. सैटरडे वेडनेसडे रात के 9:30 बजे और सैटरडे रात के 9:30 बजे इस चैनल पे लाइव होंगे अगले हफ्ते से। इस हफ्ते मंडे टू फ्राइडे होगा, बट आफ्टर दैट द डेली लाइव स्ट्रीम्स पॉडकास्ट एपिसोड्स विल एंड एंड मैं हफ्ते के 2 दिन करूँगा। आकाश सेज, व्हाट आर योर व्यूज़ ऑन दिस होल संदीप माहेश्वरी, श्वेताब गंगवार, प्रखर गुप्ता कंट्रोवर्सी? आई हैव नो व्यूज़ है। मुझे उनके झमेले में पड़ना ही नहीं है। उनको आपस में जो करना है करने दो, आई डोंट केयर। Eman is going for dinner. Bye, Eman. Peaceful Nook says, if Iraq did have weapons of mass destruction, would that have made the war justified? That would have created a whole different set of variables that I cannot comment on because they were never found. But then at least Americans would be able to say they were going to attack us. So we attacked them in order to prevent that attack. How much would be found, where it would be found, under what circumstances it would be found, and what would follow from that, I cannot comment on because it never happened. But their main justification of it was weapons of mass destruction, right? And they were never found. It was bad intelligence, apparently. Lives lost, a country ruined because somebody just faffed. Only Americans can get away with this crap. Piyush says, how do you start to write a novel? Is it necessary to have the whole premise from beginning to end beforehand, or we can just start writing and figure out how it continues while writing? Piyush, I will make a video about this and put it on the writing channel. I'll remind everyone that there is a new writing channel now. If you go to the main page of this channel and scroll down to the channel list, you'll find a channel called Vimo is Writing. I have already uploaded 3 videos there. and more videos will come. It will be infrequent schedule, but I will talk about writing on that channel. To give a very short answer to what Piyush is saying, there are two approaches. One is called pantsers, one is called plotters. Pantsers are people who write by the seat of their pants, who make stuff up as they write. And plotters are people who have a detailed outline, or at least some kind of an outline before they start writing. Stephen King, the horror writer, is a pantser. His approach is that you don't need an outline, just create nice characters, put them in strange situations, and see what happens. Plotters are people like almost everyone is a plotter. Almost every major writer of any genre fiction is a plotter, because uh, they have a premise, they have a sequence of events, and they will have a document with 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 to 30. Each line will be one sentence, and then they will expand each sentence into a chapter. So, two approaches. Peaceful Nook says opinion on reformism versus revolution to create a dictatorship of the proletariat. I am not a huge fan of revolution because I don't know if you are going to participate in the revolution, but I am not. And I think revolutions lead to a power vacuum which creates at least some kind of a replica of the system that was there previously. And you have had this conversation on my Discord server also, and I wanted to answer this. And the answer mainly is that uh, if we talk about violence in a Discord server, then we are essentially giving uh, permission to other people to also advocate violence. And that is something I don't want to do on my server, because the argument that I'm not talking about mindless violence, I'm talking about violence with a specific goal in mind. This argument can be presented by everyone, including Islamic terrorists, including Hindutva terrorists, including Christian fundamentalists, everyone. And once it starts, everyone will start thinking that my violence is justified, other people's violence is mindless. And lastly, the reason I don't want to talk about violence or advocacy of violence on my Discord server is because your name is Peaceful Nuke. I run the Discord server with my real name. So if at some point of time somebody decides to come after me, or the people who run this Discord server are advocating terrorism, then I will be the one whose ass is on fire. You will happily delete your accounts and run away. That is the point. Anonymous people can take risks. I cannot. श्रेया सेज ओ नो लगता है कुछ ज़्यादा ही जल्दी आ गया मैं कल के स्ट्रीम के लिए अब 24 घंटा बैठ के यहाँ पे वेट करो। ओके वी आर एट द 1 आवर 8 मिनट मार्क, अब पता भी नहीं चला कब 1 घंटा क्रॉस हो गया। Akash says, how do you make work-life balance? Do you work out? I'm unable to focus as I'm eating crap and kind of messed up sleep schedule. Please guide. Akash, I am not an expert on these matters. My own schedule is quite crappy, but I'm beginning to put it back in order. Uh, and that is by waking up. I wake up at 5 every day. Like I set the alarm for 5. I wake up by 5:15. By the time sit down to work, it's 5:30. I write for a couple of hours, then I get ready, then I come back and write a little more. Uh, uh, खाना टाइम पे खाता हूँ, और अभी मैं लाइव स्ट्रीम को भी थोड़ा पुल बैक कर रहा हूँ, ताकि हफ्ते में 5 दिन की जगह सिर्फ 2 दिन लाइव स्ट्रीम करूँ और मेरे पास थोड़ा टाइम बचे लिखने के लिए और दूसरे कामों के लिए। बट या आई एम नॉट एन एक्सपर्ट ऑन एनीथिंग, मे बी देयर आर मोटिवेशनल गुरुज whose videos you can watch. Nazu says, ooh, I'm a pantser. Yeah, but note that short story writing में mostly plotting की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ती है. If you're writing a novel, then pantsing can be really, how do I put it, unproductive, because at some point you get lost. There are plot holes. Uh, I would suggest that if someone is writing the first draft of a novel, pants away. But the second draft, you should like put things in order using an outline of some sort. Piyush says, what is your opinion on the current government trying to replace Gandhi with Bose? How does Bose fit into their ideology? I think they're clutching at straws. There is no end game in mind. There is no end game in mind. They're just clutching at straws. Nazu says, what did you think of that ad where Amitabh Bachchan goes on a rampage destroying property? I have not seen this ad. There is an ad like this. I have not seen it. But anyway, 1 घंटा 10 मिनट होने को है। आज का लाइव स्ट्रीम यहीं पे खत्म करते हैं। If hold on, let me watch my pass. Yes, if you want to support this channel, click the join button below and become a member of the channel, and that will really help. If you want to support it on Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/Vimo. You can make a monthly or an annual pledge. Arey, hold on. You can make a monthly or an annual pledge. And if you want to make a one-time support donation, then you can do that at my blog, which is at vimo.stck.me. एक सपोर्ट बटन मिलेगा, वहाँ पे क्लिक करके डोनेट कर सकते हो using any means of payment actually. And your sponsorship, your support will help me buy books, buy software, pay my electricity bill, pay my internet bill, and all that. If you want to listen to audio version of this podcast, you can do so at www.vimo.in. You'll find all the audio episodes there, in addition to links to all the apps on which the podcast is available. And lastly, but not leastly, there are t-shirts available at kadakmerch.com/vimolive. KADAKMERCH, kadakmerch.com/vimolive. There is a t-shirt for atheists. It's called Sabka Malik Fake Hai. There's a t-shirt with my Instagram slogan on it, which is words are weapons. So another way of supporting this channel is buying a t-shirt or a mug or a hoodie. With all that out of the way, I'll just end today's episode and promise that I will see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. Until then, please be safe and take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.